Hello and welcome to Planet Watch. I am here with Mary Jane Stodenman, our astrologer in Geneva, Switzerland, and we're going to be talking about Gemini. The energy of Gemini is coming in as of May 20th. So hi, Mary Jane.
Hello to you, good Chris.
Yes, nice to see you. Nice to see you. We've got a little bit of Wi-Fi delay here, so I do apologize for
Oh,
that.
okay. That's all right. That's all right.
A
We'll
little
make it
lagging.
do. I prefer that to all the fast thinking that's going on these days. It's not working for us either. So, so let's take our time and do it right, right?
Oh man, so we're moving into Gemini. What can we expect during this next month?
Well, Gemini, let's talk about the Gemini energy field. First of all, we're moving into the mutable, we'll get involved with that, air sign. The air signs are mental. This is where ideas come from, logical thinking, movement, speech, writing, all of communications going on around us are involving the air signs. And with that in mind, as we get involved into Gemini, where the whole accent is going to be on movement. People are getting nervous. It's a mutable sign, which means we're getting ready to slip into another energy. But I'm telling you, the brakes should be on. We've got to slow this down a little bit here in Gemini. People are getting too impatient and too eager to get something else going, anything else going.
Right.
Gemini is mutable. That means it's on again, off again. You always have two choices, and it can go off in all directions. The mutable signs are very insecure, and you need to stop and think where you're putting your energy these days. The choices are immense. There are a lot of things out there, but it's time to be cogitating a little bit, and we'll get involved in that certainly in this month in this period of Gemini. Now the sun is coming into Gemini on, what did I say, the 20th of May. We have a new moon that's going to be activating this doubly. On the 22nd of May is the new moon, and this is always a trigger reaction. The new moons get things off the ground, get things started. So this is when we're going to be really pulling at the bit, and everyone's going to be wanting to things started and get some new ideas out there. This first week, in fact, of the period from the 22nd until the 25th or so, is very active, in fact, in presenting new ideas, in getting some things out there on the table. It's a great time for people from the 25th to the 29th of May. Is a great time to be negotiating old griefs. Both Venus is retrograde these days, and is going to stay retrograde until well into June. At the same time that Saturn, our friend Saturn, is retrograde. So and Pluto as well. They're in a nice attitude right now, a nice aspect, especially with Pluto, to be putting old griefs on the table. This is a time for syndical arguments and negotiations, getting things set up. I hope the staff workers in hospitals and so on are going to be putting on the table once again, in a rather more excited manner, putting on the table once again ideas like pay rises and having better health benefits and having all the things that they've been deserving and are finally getting in a good place to argue for. And certainly now for the end of May, until the end of May, this is a time to find new solutions for these old problems. Yeah. It's going to be interesting like that. Yeah, I think it is. At the same time, though, as the sun is moving into Gemini, it's in another very nice aspect, very comfortable aspect with our old friend Saturn. Now, Saturn is going to be slowing down a little bit. He's already in a retrograde mode, so he's slowing down some of these moves. I think that's fine. That's what Saturn can do the best for us right now, is just say, hold your horses, get your ideas in place. We'll have time and energy to talk about all of your griefs, all of your these new ideas that you want to get going. But let's do it in an organized fashion. Um, yeah, that's what we can do actually the best. It's going to be somewhat, this Saturn retrograde is going to be somewhat counterproductive to scientific progress. We're looking for the COVID vaccines. We're looking for new cures for old diseases as well. Saturn in his retrograde mode is not going to help. He's not going to help in an immediate future to find these breakthroughs, and especially the COVID bit that we're for, the vaccines we're looking for are going to take a considerable amount of time. The Saturn is not going to be in any condition to help us out until the end of September when he comes back direct. And well into December as well, at the beginning of December when he's going to be coming back into Aquarius. He's going to be very useful at that time. Back into Aquarius and ready to do proper scientific research, do the testing necessaries on new products, all of the rest. So this whole, this is another problem on a personal level. This Saturn retrograde, especially right now at the beginning of the Gemini period, is somewhat counterproductive to our own personal assertiveness. This is not the best time, even when we want to go screaming and yelling to the boss, and yes, we need a raise, and yes, we have to organize the way to the workroom differently and get all these new things going. But it's not a time when we're really in good condition to go to the boss. He's not listening. He's got other things going on. He's looking backward at covering his own back too. And there's a huge power struggle going to be starting up again, you know, as we see this Saturn coming back into his position and considerably back into Capricorn, where this was going on so much. All this power struggle and everyone fighting to get to the top and hold on to what they've got as hard as they can. So it's not until really, I would say until the 6th or 7th of June that we're going to be really comfortable in getting our own agendas looked at and taken care of. But that's okay. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the hardest bit with Saturn is that at the same time he's pushing, he's trying, but it's not working. It's not working initially. So right. Give science a chance. We'll have to be patient a little while longer.
Right, absolutely. Because you know, in addition to any sort of vaccine, I know that you know not everyone's on board with having a vaccine, but we do need treatments. And treatments that are going to work and not cause harm.
Anything we can do to fight this disease, we've just got to take the time to get involved with taking care of ourselves and others around us, and that's just where the name of the game is right now. I think this is there are two important points I want to bring out. First of all, in conjunction with that. Mercury and Venus are in a tight conjunction, and Venus is retrograde these days, and it's going to from the 14th of May until the 25th of June. We're looking at a Venus that's just out of whack. This Venus in Gemini, it has a lot of desires, a lot of things, a lot of great ideas. Yes, my life can be so much better if they'll just let me do this, if they'll just let me do that. However, the same Venus that has all these wonderful ideas is still square to Neptune. This was going on already last month. Is still square to Neptune, and I was yelling and screaming, be careful what you wish for, because you just make it. And we're not, this square Venus Neptune does not let us decide, make logical decisions, make logical wishes. It's still, Neptune is doing his very fluid, fuzzy thinking process right now, and is going to be leading us astray. I think this, first of all, I think this is going to be very important as the moon comes opposite Mercury, I'm sorry, Jupiter, Pluto. It's the moon is going to be making this opposition, and also to Saturn, and also square to Eris, which is an important, the important female warrior. I think during this period, which is the 26th and 27th May, we're going to see, especially women, especially harried mothers, no doubt, out on the streets saying, "Let us loose. We've got to get back to business. We've got to get these kids out of our hair. We've got to get them back in school. We've got to do all these things." No, we don't have to do all these things, not immediately. I think that's going to be a very noisy weekend, though, and we'll see where these arguments will take us. There's another weekend coming up, the Saturday, the 30th of May, when Venus is in an important trine aspect, a very positive aspect with Uranus, but is making, what is she doing? She's making an opposition to Mars. So again, people are Mars and Neptune. So people are going to go out there and say, we demand our rights. We've got to do what we want to do. You know, it's just such a period of disgust. You know, there's just a general disgust that is going to, I think, bring on another period of manifestations, a lot of marches in the street and so on. I wish people would just cool down and think about the science, think about the general good and not necessarily my selfish needs to get out of this house and get doing what I want to do. Going to the local bar on Saturday night, whatever, you know, it's not on the cards yet. And this is what I would really, for the first part of this Gemini period, this is really what I would like to stress. I think it's, you know, we're going to get better at this as time goes on. The second part of this period, as we get into June, it looks a little happier. But it's not time to throw it all overboard and say, okay, we've done our share, don't ask anything else of us. I think in a lot of cases, we're just really getting started.
Wow.
So
And those energies have been very, very dense and hard to kind of to navigate. So hard,
sure.
sad to say that it's going to be continuing.
Yeah, I think so, because people are people. And, you know, it's my needs before everybody else's needs. And it's really not a very good time to take our selfish needs very seriously. First of all, they're highly subject to change. We're getting we're getting into a period where it's time to give up certain old wishes, our old fixations, get into some old disappointments too. There's a lot of that. With Venus retrograde, you're tempted, especially square to Neptune, you stay on to the old griefs. You're fighting out old divorces, you're fighting out old fights with people. It just doesn't give up. It's time really to let go of some old notions and get a little bit more involved in community spirit right now, and thinking what the other guy needs. You know, it's time for a bit more compassion. And we're going to have to kind of make it up, because the sky doesn't look like that right now. But this is what we have to do now with these planets retrograde, and they're just, it's time to get out of the old mode and get into something a little more real. Basically a little more real. I think there will be help. Now Mercury is doing some very nice things with Saturn. Saturn says, be careful. You know, Saturn goes, what are you thinking about? What are you really capable of on a mental level? And so these planets are in a very nice conjunction. Well, sort of a nice aspect these days, at least they're having to fight it out. They're having to, it's in a Siski square actually, which is kind of a combative aspect. But in this case, it's a good thing. This Mercury off in Gemini goes, ooh, I've got so many things I want to do. And Saturn is over here in his corner going, no, you don't. You don't, you're not going to get there. You're just not going to get off the ground yet. So sit back, think, well, think until your turn comes up. And I'll tell you when your turn comes up. And that's basically what the message is going to be until, well, next month in any case. So yeah, it's not the easiest month, I'll give you that, but it's going to be it's going to be noisy. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of movement. There's going to be a lot of thought, and I hope some of this thought takes us into proper science, into proper carefulness and mindfulness. It's time to get quiet, and it's not easy in Gemini.
No, I'm really hoping that this period, that we can get back to compassion, that we can get back to, we are one, we are community, we are united.
Exactly.
And we are all connected, each one.
Sure, that's it. That's it. And it's not easy in this tight Venus Mercury conjunction in Gemini, especially both squared to Neptune. They're saying, well, yeah, but me first. I've been this patient so long.
Right.
Yes, you have. Of course you have, but keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, not the best news, but looks like there are
The
some,
easiest one.
not the easiest news, but there's an end in sight. There's, the wave goes up, the wave comes down. So
Right, right.
yeah, I always thought that I can do anything as long as I know how long I have to do it for.
Yeah, well, that's the insecurity, the unknowing that Neptune is responsible for. I mean, this is the original space guy. He's just not got any. It's excellent for artists, excellent for dreamers and inspired people. Otherwise, musicians, artists take full advantage of this crazy Neptune these days. But the rest of us kind of going, wait, it's my turn. Look, I've got to do this.
Right.
And no, we're just not seeing very straight. We're just not seeing straight.
No, we can't see past our own need for a haircut. And
right. Yeah, right.
right.
That's it.
Mary Jane, thank you so much for putting things into perspective for us. I think I know I am really understanding how I am being pulled and directed by these planetary movements. So I really appreciate this, and just being able to look around and say, oh, that's what's going on. Where did this come from? Oh, that's why it's going on. I find it very helpful.
Sure, that's it, And so often now in this period of Gemini, we feel like we have to run off on vacation or run off to the garden center and buy up everything and get busy doing something. Right. This is actually, the movement here is, yes, keep busy, but think what you're doing, just think a little bit about what you're doing. That's my message for the month.
Be busy, but think.
Okay. And be careful.
Okay.
Stay home if you can. Be careful if you can.
Yes. Good. Well, thank you so much, Mary Jane, for putting this into perspective, for putting this into some sort of
framework. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
Glad to talk to you again.
Thank you so much. We will see you then in
Cancer.
Cancer. That's right.
Okay. So long.
Bye.